The Great Hall of Varith Prime was the largest room Admiral Unipark had ever seen. It stretched so far that the walls seemed to disappear into shadow. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform, and every seat held a creature that was not human. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had too many eyes or too many limbs. All of them were looking down at the small group of humans standing in the center. Yuna stood behind Ambassador Hannah Kwan, her hands folded behind her back. Her face showed nothing. Beside her, Commander Tycho shifted his weight from one foot to the other. He was nervous. Yuna could not blame him. For 89 years, humanity had been part of the Interstellar Coalition. They had followed every rule. They had paid every tax. They had smiled at every insult and swallowed every unfair deal. Earth had done everything right, and still. They stood here like criminals waiting for judgment. The Kreth High Speaker rose from his seat. His name was Valorax, and he was nearly 3 meters tall. His scales were dark green, and his eyes burned like hot coals. The Kreth were warriors. They had conquered 12 species before joining the coalition, and they never let anyone forget it. "The matter before us is simple," Valorax said. His voice filled the hall like thunder. "The human colonies in the Orion Reach are failing. Their cities are small. Their farms are weak. They waste good planets that stronger species could use." Ambassador Kwan stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She had spent 40 years building peace between species. Her voice was calm when she spoke. "The colonies are not failing. They are growing. Our people have lived there for 3 generations. These are our homes." Laughter came from somewhere in the upper seats. It spread quickly. Soon, hundreds of aliens were making sounds of amusement. The Valari clicked their mandibles together. The Kreth slapped their tails against the floor. Valorax raised one clawed hand, and the laughter stopped. "Your homes?" he said. "Little Ambassador, your entire species is younger than my grandfather. You crawled out of mud only yesterday. You have no history. You have no power. You exist in this galaxy because we permit it." Yuna felt her jaw tighten. She kept her face still. Ambassador Kwan did not back down. "The charter of the coalition says that member species cannot have their territory taken without consent." "We do not consent," the charter said, a new voice. "Also says that territory must be used efficiently." This speaker was Valari. Her name was High Matron Civix, and she led the insectoid species that controlled more space than anyone else. Her body was covered in hard black plates, and her voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "We have reviewed human development," Civix continued. "It is inadequate. The vote will proceed." "You cannot do this," Commander Tyke said. His voice cracked. He was young, and he still believed in fairness. "We can," Valorax said. "We are." The vote took less than 5 minutes. One by one, species cast their decision. The Kreth voted to take the colonies. The Valari voted the same. The Norith, the Silken, the Dreth. The Omerial of them voted against. Earth. Some did not even look at the humans when they raised their hands, when it was Earth's turn to vote. The system simply skipped them. Their vote did not count. It had never counted.
Ow.
"The motion passes," announced the Assembly Speaker. "Earth will surrender the colonies within 30 standard days. Failure to comply will result in enforcement action." Ambassador Kwan stood very still. Her hands were shaking, but her voice remained steady. "This is a mistake. We have been loyal members of this coalition. We have never broken a single agreement." Valorax stepped down from his platform and walked toward the humans. Each step made the floor shake. He stopped directly in front of Ambassador Kwan and looked down at her like she was an insect. "Loyal?" he said. "You are not loyal. You are afraid. There is a difference." He leaned closer. "Run home, little apes. Pack your things and leave those worlds. Be grateful we do not take your home world too." The hall filled with laughter again. This time, it was louder. Crueler. Yuna saw Commander Tyke's face turn red with shame. She saw Ambassador Kwan's shoulders fall just a little bit, but Yuna did not look away from Valorax. The Kreth leader noticed her stare. He turned his burning eyes toward her and smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Does the soldier have something to say? Una stepped forward. She was not a tall woman. She barely reached the Creth's chest. But she did not look up at him like he was something to fear. She looked at him like he was something to study. Oh, she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. I have nothing to say, Valarax laughed. Smart. Your leaders talk too much. Perhaps you understand your place better than they do. Una nodded slowly. I understand many things. She turned and began to walk toward the exit. Ambassador Quan and Commander Tyke followed her. Behind them, the laughter continued. Aliens pointed and made jokes in languages humans were not supposed to understand. At the great doors of the hall, Una stopped. She turned back one final time and found Valarax still watching her with amusement in his eyes. Hi, speaker, she called out. Her voice carried across the hall, and slowly the laughter faded. Valarax tilted his head. Yes, little soldier. Una looked at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her words were simple. You will remember this moment. Then she turned and walked out of the hall. The doors closed behind her with a sound like a heartbeat in the silence that followed. A few aliens exchanged confused looks. Some laughed nervously. Most forgot about it within minutes. But Valarax did not laugh. For just a moment, something cold moved through his chest. He did not know what it was. He told himself it was nothing. He was wrong. The Geneva Command Center was buried deep under the Swiss mountains. It had been built 300 years ago, during a time when humans still feared each other. Now it served a different purpose. Now it was where Earth prepared for threats from the stars. Director Minho Beek stood at the head of a long table. His face was hard and tired. Round him sat the most powerful people on Earth, generals, scientists, leaders of every nation. They had come together in anger, but Minho needed them to think clearly. We have 30 days, he said. After that, they will come to take our colonies by force. General Kyung Jang slammed his fist on the table. He was an old soldier with scars on his face and fire in his eyes. Then we fight. We have been pushed around for too long. With what? Asked a voice from across the room. It belonged to Ambassador Hannah Kwan. She had arrived from Varith Prime only hours ago, and the shame of the assembly still hung over her like a cloud. Our fleet is small. Our weapons are old. The Creth alone have 5,000 warships. We have 300. The room fell silent. Everyone knew she was right. For decades, humanity had followed the Coalition's rules. They had limited their military. It shared their research. They had trusted that the system would protect them. The system had failed. Minho looked around the table. Then he nodded to a woman sitting in the corner. She had been quiet the whole time, watching and listening. Her name was Dr. Yoon Seo, and she led a project that did not officially exist. Tell them, Minho said. Dr. Yoon stood up slowly. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that seemed to look through people. She walked to the center of the room and pressed a button on a small device in her hand. The lights dimmed. A hologram appeared above the table, showing designs that no one in the room had ever seen before. 60 years ago, Dr. Yoon began, a group of scientists asked a simple question. What if the Coalition could not be trusted? What if one day we needed to stand alone? She gestured at the hologram. Ships appeared sleek, powerful. Nothing like the old vessels Earth was known for. We called it Project Prometheus. For 6 decades, we have worked in secret. We've built hidden factories on moons and asteroids. We developed new technologies and told no one. We let the galaxy believe we were weak. General Kyung leaned forward. How many ships? 1,200, Dr. Yoon said. All of them more advanced than anything the Coalition has ever seen. The room erupted in noise. People shouted questions. Some laughed in disbelief. Others simply stared at the hologram with wide eyes. Admiral Una Park, who had been standing by the door, walked forward. Her voice cut through the chaos. Show them the weapons. Dr. Yoon smiled slightly and changed the display. New images appeared, missiles that could bend space, cannons that fired concentrated gravity, drones that moved faster than any pilot could react. We have antimatter drives, Dr. Yoon continued. We have dimensional fold technology that allows instant travel across light years. We have artificial intelligence systems that can coordinate entire fleets in real time. The Coalition thinks we are children playing with sticks. They are wrong. The room went quiet again. This time the silence was different. It was the silence of people realizing that everything had changed. Ambassador Quan spoke first. Her voice was careful. If we reveal this, we will have no allies. The Coalition will see us as a threat. Every species will turn against us. They already turned against us, Admiral Park said. They voted to steal our homes and laughed while they did it. We have no allies, Ambassador. We never did. We only had masters who let us believe we were free. General Kuhn nodded slowly. What are you suggesting? Minho stepped forward. His voice was calm but heavy with the weight of what he was about to say. We terminate every treaty. Tonight, we withdraw from the Coalition completely. We show the galaxy what we really are. That is madness, someone said from the back of the room. They will destroy us. No, Admiral Park said.
If they will try.
And they will fail. We have hidden our strength for 60 years. Now it is time to use it. The debate lasted for hours. Some argued for caution, some argued for patience. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth had been humiliated for the last time. At exactly midnight, Coordinated Earth time, a single message was sent to every government in the galaxy.
Nice.
It was short and simple. The Terran Union hereby terminates all treaties, agreements, and obligations with the Interstellar Coalition. Effective immediately. This decision is final. Across the galaxy, diplomats and leaders received the message. Some read it and laughed. The humans were bluffing, they said. The humans were desperate. This was a tantrum, nothing more. Others read the message and felt something they could not explain. A cold feeling in their chests, a whisper in their minds that told them something had changed. On the Kreth homeworld, Valarax was woken by his advisors. They showed him Earth's message and waited for his reaction. He read it twice. Then he threw back his head and laughed. The apes think they can scare us with words, he said. Send a fleet. 200 ships should be enough. Remind them who rules this galaxy. His advisors bowed and left to carry out his orders. Valarax returned to his bed, still smiling, fell asleep quickly and dreamed of human cities burning. He did not know that light years away, 1,200 warships were powering up their engines for the first time. He did not know that Admiral Park was already aboard the flagship, watching the stars and waiting. He would learn soon enough. Captain Jehun No stood on the bridge of the TSS Vengeance and watched the stars. He had served in Earth's Navy for 20 years, commanding old ships with old weapons. Always knowing that if real war came, he would lose. Now, he commanded something different. Something that made him believe, for the first time, that humanity might survive. The Vengeance was beautiful. Her hull was smooth and dark, built from materials that did not exist in Coalition databases. Her engines made no sound. Her weapon systems hummed with quiet power. She was death-wrapped in silence. Captain, said Lieutenant Narayun from her station. She was young, barely 30, but her mind worked faster than anyone Jehun had ever met. Long-range sensors are picking up the Kreth fleet. 200 ships, approaching from Sector 7. Jehun nodded slowly. Time to contact? For hours at their current speed in our fleet? Nari checked her screens. 400 ships in position. Admiral Choi is requesting final confirmation. Jehun looked out at the darkness. Somewhere out there, 200 Kreth warships were coming to punish Earth for daring to speak back. Their commanders were probably laughing, expecting easy victory. They thought they were coming to discipline children. They were wrong. Signal the Admiral, Jehun said. We are ready. For hours later, the Kreth fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Terran space. Their commander, a veteran named Warlord Thren, looked at his sensors and frowned. Where is the human fleet? He asked. His officers checked their readings. Nothing on sensors, Warlord. Space is empty. Thren smiled. They are hiding. Cowards. Open a channel. Let me speak to these frightened apes. The channel opened, and Thren's voice boomed across the void. Human vessels. This is Warlord Thren of the Kreth hegemony. You have insulted the coalition and defied the High Speaker. You will surrender immediately, or we will burn your worlds to ash. You have 1 minute to respond." Silence answered him. Thren waited. The seconds passed slowly. His smile began to fade. "Perhaps their communications are broken," one officer suggested nervously. "Perhaps," Thren said. "Or perhaps the space around them suddenly changed. 400 points of light appeared from nowhere, surrounding the Kreth fleet in a perfect sphere. Ships materialized out of fold space, their dark hulls catching starlight. They were sleek and strange, nothing like the clumsy human vessels the Kreth had seen before." Thren stared at his sensors. "That is impossible. They cannot have this many ships." "Our intelligence," said Warlord. An officer shouted. "Their weapons are charging." On the bridge of the Vengeance, Captain Jihoon watched the Kreth fleet scramble into defensive formation. They were fast and disciplined. The Kreth had earned their reputation as warriors. But discipline would not save them today. "Fleet Admiral Choi is hailing us," Nari reported. Ji-hun opened the channel. Admiral Sun-woo Choi's face appeared on screen. He was an older man with a calm voice and steady eyes. He had waited his whole life for this moment. "All ships," the Admiral said. "The enemy has entered our space. They came to take our homes and kill our families. They laughed when we asked for mercy." He paused. "Show them what happens when humanity stops asking." The channel closed. Ji-hoon turned to his weapons officer. "Fire!" The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human ships moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing, striking from angles the Kreth could not predict. Their weapons were unlike anything the warriors had seen before. Gravity beams tore ships apart from the inside. Missiles blinked through fold space and detonated against hulls before sensors could detect them. Autonomous drones swarmed in perfect coordination, overwhelming point defenses with sheer numbers. The Vengeance alone destroyed 23 enemy vessels. Lieutenant Nari coordinated targeting with cold precision, her fingers flying across her console as she directed death across the battlefield. "Enemy cruiser at bearing 47, she called out. "Firing solution locked." "Fire," Ji-hoon said. A beam of twisted gravity struck the Kreth cruiser. The ship bent like paper, folding in on itself until it simply ceased to exist. Across the battle, similar scenes played out. Kreth ships exploded. Kreth warriors died. Kreth commanders screamed orders that no one could follow. Warlord Thren watched his fleet die and felt something he had never experienced before: fear. "All ships retreat," he shouted. "Fall back. Fall back." But retreat was not easy. Human ships blocked escape routes. Human weapons struck fleeing vessels. Human drones hunted survivors with patient mechanical efficiency. When it was over, 187 Kreth ships were debris floating in the void. The rest had fled, their engines burning at maximum power. Their crews too terrified to look back. The human fleet had not lost a single ship captain. Ji-hoon stood on his bridge and watched the wreckage drift past his window. He felt no joy. He felt no pride. He only felt a quiet certainty that the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Captain Nari said softly, "Coalition news networks are already broadcasting. Everyone knows what happened here." Ji-hoon nodded. "Good. Let them know." Far away, on a dozen different worlds, leaders and commanders watched the battle footage with growing horror. The humans had been hiding their power. The humans had been lying for decades. And now, the humans were angry. On the Valari homeworld, High Matron Civix immediately ordered her diplomats to reach out to Earth. Perhaps there was still time to make peace. Perhaps the humans could be calmed. Her messages went unanswered. On the Kreth homeworld, Belarx received the news in his throne room. He listened to the reports. He watched the footage of his warriors dying. His claws dug into the arms of his chair until the metal bent. "Tch," he whispered. "How did they hide this from us?" No one had an answer. For the first time in his long life, Valarax felt the cold touch of doubt. He had mocked the humans. He had called them insects. He had told them to run home. Now they were coming for him instead. 2 weeks after the battle, Galaxy was falling apart. Agent Doan Shin sat in a dark room on a Valari space station, listening to secrets. He had been an intelligence operative for 15 years, hiding among aliens, learning their weaknesses. Now, his work was finally paying off. Through hidden microphones and stolen data, he learned that the coalition was breaking. Species that had been allies for centuries were now blaming each other. The Valari accused the Kreth of starting a war they could not win. The Kreth accused the Valari of abandoning them. Smaller species watched in fear. Wondering who the humans would punish next, Doan smiled and sent his report to Earth, in Geneva. Director Minho Beek read the intelligence with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. The coalition had always been held together by fear, fear of outsiders, fear of chaos, fear of being alone. Now humanity had become the biggest fear of all, and the old alliances were crumbling. The Valari are asking for negotiations, Ambassador Hannah Kwan reported. She looked tired but hopeful. They want to return our colonies and discuss new terms. Hey, what are their conditions? Minho asked. They want us to rejoin the coalition. They want us to limit our fleet. They want things to go back to how they were. Minho shook his head. Things will never go back. Tell them our terms. Full return of the 3 colonies. A public apology broadcast to every world in the galaxy. And financial payment for the damage they caused. Ambassador Kwan hesitated. They will refuse. Their pride will not allow it. Then their pride will cost them everything. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Unipark received her orders aboard the flagship of the 2nd Terra Fleet. She read them twice, then called her officers to the bridge. We are going to the Valari homeworld, she announced. Not to attack, not yet. We are going to wait, Commander Tycho, now serving as her second-in-command, frowned. Wait for what, Admiral? For them to understand. The 2nd Fleet 300 ships strong traveled through fold space and emerged near the Valari home system. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply took position in orbit around the Valari capital world and waited. The effect was immediate. Valari? Citizens looked up at their sky and saw human ships hanging like dark stars. Their military scrambled to respond, but their commanders knew the truth. Against these ships, they had no chance. If the humans wanted to destroy them, there was nothing they could do to stop it. Day 1 passed. The human fleet did not move. Day 2 passed. Panic began to spread through Valari cities. People rushed to buy food and supplies. Some tried to flee the planet, but the spaceports were overwhelmed. Day 3 passed. The Valari government held emergency meetings that lasted through the night. Advisors argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. Most just wanted the nightmare to end. Admiral Park watched it all through her ship's sensors. She felt no pleasure in their fear. She only felt the cold certainty that this was necessary. Admiral Tyke said quietly, "The Valari are suffering. Children are crying in the streets. Is this really who we want to be?" Una looked at him for a long moment. When they voted to take our homes, did they think about our children? When they laughed at us in the assembly, did they care about our suffering? Tyke had no answer. We are not here to destroy them, Una continued. We are here to teach them. Fear is the only language some species understand. Once they learn respect, we will show them mercy. On the 4th day, the Valari government collapsed. High Matron Civics was removed from power by her own council. A new administration took control, and their first act was to accept Earth's terms completely. They returned the 3 colonies. They broadcast a public apology to every corner of the galaxy. They agreed to pay reparations that would take decades to fulfill. And then, finally, the human fleet left. But before they departed, Admiral Park sent one final message to the Valari people. We did not come for war. We came for respect. Your old leaders thought they could take from us without consequence. They were wrong, but we do not hate your people. We do not want your destruction. Those who treat us fairly will find us to be good friends. Those who do not will learn, as you have learned, what humanity is capable of. The choice is yours. The message spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On Earth, Counselor Bora Imtha, new voice of humanity to the coalition, gave a speech that was broadcast to every species. For 89 years, we asked for nothing but fairness. We followed your rules. We respected your traditions. And in return, you laughed at us. You stole from us. You treated us like animals. She paused. Those days are over. We are not asking anymore. We are telling you how things will be. Treat us as equals, and we will work together for peace. Treat us as enemies, and you will share the fate of those who came before. In the aftermath, species across the galaxy made their choices. Some immediately sent messages of friendship to Earth. They had always respected humans, they claimed. They had never supported the insults and theft. Most of these claims were lies, but Earth accepted them anyway. The point had been made. Others remained silent, watching and waiting to see what would happen next. And Afutha proud, the stubborn, the foolish began to whisper about forming an alliance against humanity. Perhaps together they could still win. In Geneva, Director Minho Beek received reports of these whispers. He shared them with Dr. Unesio over tea. They think they can stop us if they work together, he said. Dr. Eunice smiled her small, knowing smile. Let them try. How many ships do we have now? 1,600. With more being built every month? Minho nodded slowly. And the other projects? Dr. Yoon set down her tea. Project Olympus is proceeding on schedule. When it is finished, fleets will be meaningless. But that is for another day. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly beneath the stars. It looked peaceful from up here, beautiful. A small blue world that had once been afraid of the dark. It was not afraid anymore. 6 months had passed since the night Earth terminated every treaty. 6 months of change. 6 months of a galaxy learning to see humanity with new eyes. Ambassador. Hannah Kwan stood outside the great doors of the assembly hall on Varith Prime. It was the same hall where she had been humiliated. The same hall where Valarax had called her people apes. The same hall where the coalition had voted to steal her people's homes. Now she was back. General. Kyung-jung stood beside her in full military dress. His chest was covered with medals earned over a lifetime of service. Behind them, Admiral Tyke, promoted after his service in the Second Fleet, waited with a guard of honor. 20 human soldiers in black armor, carrying weapons that made the station's security officers nervous. Are you ready? General Kyung asked quietly. Hannah took a deep breath. I have waited my whole career for this. The doors opened. The assembly hall was full. Every species in the coalition had sent representatives. They sat in their thousands of seats, watching the entrance with a mixture of fear and curiosity. 6 months ago, they would have been laughing. Now no one laughed as Ambassador Kwan walked into the hall. Something happened that had never happened before in coalition history. Every representative stood up, the sound of thousands of beings rising from there. Seats filled the chamber like thunder. They stood in silence as the small human woman walked down the central aisle toward the speaking platform. Some bowed their heads. Others could not meet her eyes. Hannah walked slowly, savoring every step. She remembered the last time she had made this walk head down, shoulders bent, preparing to beg for mercy that would never come. Now, she walked with her head high and her back straight. She reached the platform and turned to face the assembly. The representatives remained standing, waiting for her permission to sit. She let them wait for a long moment. You may sit, she finally said. They sat. Hannah looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of species that had once treated her with contempt. The Valari delegation sat near the front. Their new high matron kept her head bowed in shame. The smaller species, the Norith, the Silken, the Dreth watched with nervous hope. They had been kind to humans once. Perhaps they would be forgiven. The Kreth seats were nearly empty. Their empire had fallen into civil war after the defeat of their fleet. Warlords fought each other for scraps of power while their people suffered. Only a small delegation had come today, led by the same Valarax who had mocked humanity 6 months ago. But Valarax was not a high speaker anymore. He had been stripped of his rank and his power. He wore simple clothes instead of armor. He sat in the back of the hall instead of the place of honor. He was there only because Earth had specifically requested his presence. Hannah began to speak. 6 months ago, I stood in this hall and asked for justice. I asked you to honor your own laws. I asked you to treat my people with basic dignity. She paused. You laughed at me. The silence was absolute. You voted to take our homes. You called us animals. You told us to be grateful that you did not destroy us completely. Her voice grew stronger. You were so certain of your power, so confident in your superiority. You could not imagine that the small, quiet species from the edge of the galaxy might be anything more than what you believed. She smiled a cold, hard smile. You were wrong. The next hour was devoted to the formal restructuring of the coalition. Earth would rejoin, but on completely new terms. Humanity was granted 3 permanent seats on the High Council, more than any other species. Human ships would patrol coalition space. Human law would be respected everywhere. The other species had no choice but to agree. They signed every document. They accepted every condition. Some did so with grace, hoping to rebuild trust. Others did so with barely hidden resentment, already planning how they might change things in the future. When the formal business was finished, Admiral Una Park entered the hall. She walked with the quiet confidence of a woman who had won a war without losing a single soldier. The assembly watched her approach with something close to religious awe. She did not go to the speaking platform. Instead, she walked directly to the back of the hall, where Valarax sat alone. The former High Speaker did not run. He did not hide. Whatever else he was still a Kreth warrior. He would face his fate with dignity. Una stopped in front of him. She was so much smaller than the reptilian giant. Her head barely reached his chest. But somehow, in that moment, she seemed larger than anyone in the hall. High Speaker, she said. Do you remember the last time we spoke? Valarax's voice was rough. I am not High Speaker anymore. I know. But I asked you a question. You met her eyes. I remember, what did I tell you? A long silence passed. Then Valarax spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. You told me I would remember that moment. Una nodded slowly. And do you? Every night, he admitted. I see your face when I close my eyes. I hear your words when I try to sleep. I remember good. Una turned to leave, then stopped. We are not going to destroy your people, Valarax. We are not going to take revenge. Humanity does not need to prove its strength by crushing the weak. She looked back at him one final time. But we will never forget, and neither will you. She walked away. Valarax watched her go, and for the first time since his defeat, he felt something other than fear or shame. He felt respect. That evening, Director Minho Beek and Dr. Yoon Seo stood in a private room aboard Verith Prime. Through the window, they could see Earth's new fleet, 2,000 ships now assembled in perfect formation. It is done, Minho said. We have everything we wanted. For now, Dr. Yoon replied. But the galaxy has a long memory. Some species will accept the new order. Others will spend decades looking for ways to bring us down. Let them try. Dr. Yoon smiled. Prometheus gave us ships. Olympus will give us something better. When it is finished, no fleet in the galaxy will matter. We will have the power to reshape reality itself. Minho looked at her. Will we use it? Only if we must. Power is not about destruction. It is about making sure no one ever dares to threaten you again. Far below, Earth turned in the darkness of space. A small blue world that had been laughed at and dismissed. A species that had been called primitive and weak. A people who had hidden their true strength for 60 years, waiting for the right moment. The moment had come. Ambassador Hannah Kwan looked down at her homeworld from the observation deck. Tears ran down her face, stares of pride, of relief, of something close to joy. Humanity had asked for respect. The galaxy had refused, so humanity had taken it instead. And now, at last, the universe knew what Earth was truly capable of.